Hello everyone, this is a piece that I just made here. My name is Gerald Mendez and I'm here at Createx Colors. So I will show you step by step how I create this fantasy art piece. Hello everyone, how you guys doing? I'm so happy to be here finally at one of the greatest places that I want to be, and of course we're talking about Createx Colors, the company that has been supplying all the colors for a lot of professionals. You know, I've been so fortunate to be able to use their products from all the lines, and believe me, it's always been a great experience. So this time I have the opportunity to work with Craig Kennedy, you know, owner of Createx, and we find out that it will be interesting to make a demonstration of how I apply and use the candy colors. So for this purpose, I create a project that is very interesting. You may see a little bit of what I have here. This is an aluminum panel that I hand engrave, and I'm using grinding tools, you know, from small to big, to make all kind of different effects. And why I did that? Because this will show how the beauty of the candy colors will reflect on a surface like this. So aluminum is a great base to work with, but is always a question about how come my paint will stick on it? What do I need to use it to make this happen? So we're gonna solve all the problems, we're gonna answer as many questions, and I will do demo pretty much from the beginning to the end. Just to give you an idea, the picture on the background is my layout. The colors are not the final colors, but it gives me a guide of how I attack this project. You know, it's basically, you know, I love fantasy art, so this is a mermaid that is flying, is not swimming, is flying on a fantasy world. It will be a moonlight on the background, and I call it this Moonlight Dreams. So I think it will be an awesome project. We're gonna learn a lot, but the main thing is that we're gonna show how the candy can turn this monochromatic shading of silver color into beautiful piece. So just to guide you a little bit, I have this raw metal grounded, and now I just apply a mask. If you can see, are two different tones of colors. This has no mask and this has a transparent mask. Why is this mask important? Because this mask, I cut it around because I need to isolate the background from the main image. So what I will do is I cut around and peel off to have a separate mask of hair and then the background. I cut it most of them, but I will continue just a little section so you guys can see what I'm doing, okay? In order to do that, I will use two different knives. This is a swivel knife, professional swivel knife. Is X-Acto knife 3051, that's the model. Unfortunately, they don't do it anymore. They stopped doing this in the 90s. But it's one of the best swivel knives that you can use. So I will show you a little bit. If I will cut into the rest of the hand and part of the tail, so you guys can see what I'm doing, okay? So I will take this little piece of tape. It was just my indication where I need to start to continue what I'm doing, okay? So if you follow me here with the blade, you will see how the blade will rotate as I go, okay? And this is absolutely awesome because it saves me a lot of time and headache, you know, with a precision. So the blade is very small, but it allows me to do accurate cutting, you know, all the way here. So this area is cut. Now I will do the rest of the tail, and I will do exactly the same thing. You know, we need to take advantage of all the amazing tools that we have it around to make this easy and the best as possible. Okay, so the reason why I'm using this mask is because it's completely transparent, so I'm able to cut it and see exactly where I'm going, following the ground metal effect that I did earlier. So I'm just doing here. Probably it's hard to tell on the reflections that you guys see it, but I'm following the areas according with my engraving lines, okay? And just right after, we're gonna apply the additive that make it possible to have the color, transparent colors on top of it. We're gonna use candy colors, but candy colors are only the dye, has no binder. So we need to add a special binder to make it stick into the surface. So 4050 is one of the additives that we're gonna use, and it's gonna work perfect for this purpose. And guess what? Our friend Chris Arpin will be helping us to do that demonstration. So we're gonna have all the technical information about it. So it will be very, very important to learn about those details, okay? So, well, this is pretty much ready. Let me use okay, I got it done. All I need to do now is just peel off the mask so you guys can see what I'm doing. I will cut sections. It's always easy to replace when it's a section than when it's a full piece to locate, you know. It's more handy and friendly to do it that way. So, okay, I'm holding in the hand. This is the negative of my mask. So she's covered, and I just need to peel off the rest of the mask, especially in this area of the tail. I have these bisections. Great. And I save this for later, because once I have the base, the 4050 spray on, I will replace the positive on the mermaid so we can keep doing and work freely on the background. Okay, so that section, we peel off this other one. Okay, nice and easy. There you go. We are all done. And now, let me just place this right. Easy. So this is all masked. Probably you guys didn't see it right there, but as you can see, every section on the mermaid has been protected with the mask. Now we're gonna spray 4050 to give a tooth to the base, and then we go from there, and then start doing color, blocking the mermaid, and we go in reverse. Hope you guys find this interesting. See you in a little bit.
All right, guys, we're back. We got Gerald's panel mounted. We wiped it down real quick with a product from PBG, SX394. It's a water-based pre-cleaner. And I prefer using that over something like this. It's ground aluminum. If you use aggressive solvents, you sometimes can cause more problems than if you were wiping like with, let's say, lacquer thinner or something like that. A lot of times it's a little too aggressive and it could cause some issues. So because this is already clean and it was done and basically worked in a clean environment, the 394, that water-based pre-cleaner, is perfect just to get those fingerprints and any kind of residue off. And we're going to go ahead and put probably 2 coats, just 2 medium wet coats of our 4050 over the entire panel to give Gerald a nice level surface to spray on. So for this is a little bit smaller. I'm using an LPH 300. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road gun. It's a 1.3, and I'm spraying right at 18 PSI. I have my 4050 reduced 10% with 4011. That's kind of our go-to, and that's standard mixture for this product. So I'm going to go ahead and put a coat on.
Okay guys, as you know, Chris Arpin took a good clear coat with 4050 to protect the artwork. So he gave quite a few coats, let it dry. It happens already probably about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, so it's completely dry. And what I'm doing now is protecting the shape of the mermaid. You know, I know it's hard to see the mask, but the good portion of the mermaid has been masked already. I have this small piece that still need to place it, so you guys can see what I'm doing. And what it's all about is just get exposed, so unmask all the background, and I just protect the silhouette and the shape of the mermaid. So that way I can work freely on the background, and then I will not worry about the silhouette of her. So what I'm doing is I just placing back my transparent mask, which we cut it earlier, so you guys will see how this works. Okay, so let me do it, and so you can see it. Since this is very transparent, I can follow exactly the position of the mask. So right there, I have it just right on place. So now it's hard. You probably don't see the difference, but the mask is right there, and it's already on the rest of the piece. So just place in here. Maybe I need to go back, review some corners, but it's pretty much ready to go. So next step is prepping my paint, prepping some candies, illustration colors from Createx, and of course Candy 2.0, and start working in the background. Okay, so what I will do, just to have an idea, following my reference, is, as you can see, I have a color reference here and I have a black and white reference. The reason why it's the black and white is because I can see the values easy. I know where it needs to be darker and lighter, easier, and here is my reference of colors. Of course, the colors, I will play around with it. Not necessarily must be exact, but it gives me the mood of the colors. Remember, this is fantasy, so nothing can be wrong. Okay? See you in a little bit. Okay, guys, so we're going to start doing some painting, but as always, one of the most important things is that is to have your airbrush set up properly. And the only way for me to know that is right is testing the airbrush, cleaning up, and do some lines. As a rule for every piece that I'm doing, I always must have a piece of paper right here on my side. Not far away, but just very close to my working area. Why? Because I need to test my airbrush here to be sure that the paint is flowing well, that my paint is in the right viscosity before I apply here. It's a big mistake for me to spray directly without testing the airbrush. So how I do it, first I clean, I rinse through, I spray some reducer, have it clean, and then add some paint. How I will do it? I did a little test in here. I don't know, just few lines. I will do some more, but what I'm gonna do is basically, sorry, let me grab my glasses. Okay, what I do is always add a little bit of reducer first. This is my reducer, 4011 reducer, you know, and I add a few drops of reducer first, not the paint first, the reducer first, because the reducer goes all the way down. Then I add some drops of color. In this case, I will add just 2-3 drops of color, you know, and the paint is on top of the reducer, but it's easy to mix well with the reducer on the bottom, because if I put the paint first, as soon as I spray and press the trigger, that paint will come off. So I don't want to do that. So what I do is I take a piece of paper, you know, like a paper towel. I bubble up a little bit, spray and test, and I can see first here that I'm having a good flow of the paint. But of course it's easier when I do on paper towel. Now I need to do the same thing on the paper, so that way I'm testing that my paint is running fine. What I do first, I will do some fine dots, and I can see how dark they are. So I can see, oh, solid color. I want to see how well it flows. You know, it's thin, but it's okay. I can do dagger strokes with no problem. So that means my paint is ready. So this, of course, this can be lighter or darker, depends on the application, but this time I will do just some of the shading, few blendings of colors. As you can see here, I have a darker, let's call it here, I have a darker zones here, lighter in the middle with some strokes. I'm using illustration color 5055 violet. That's what I'm using now. Okay, so I will start spraying and just kind of go with the flow. So since this is on metal, this is very translucent, very transparent, but remember, these are not candies, this is illustration paint, okay? And right now, it's just a very little, it's not much of a definition or darkening, but it's okay. I just like to give a little bit of touch. And this is violet color, okay? Remember, I will do layers, so it's better to add little and build up than do it too much paint. It's better to add and take it off. So I'm just gonna take this stencil, this very old piece of cardboard, very thin cardboard, from a manila folder for about 15 years. I still keep it, but it gives me great effects. The paint has been built up on the edges, so it gives a soft touch. So when I concentrate paint on the sides, you can see the amount of how this is more intense, but I have control. Why? Because this is helping me to go in a different ways with it. So I can get closer with more control, and I can move it as I go. So this is start giving me kind of some mood and effect. I will do this mainly on the sides, the violet color, okay? And I will not do everything in the same color. I just do few of the areas. Spray and then a little bit of air, and I go the other direction. So that way I can do some kind of a wave lines, and of course some freehand. But if you see, when I do a freehand, the paint doesn't concentrate that much. I need to go many passes to make that happen, okay? Just keep something in mind. We're painting on top of a reflective surface. So here you guys probably from the camera see kind of a dull finish, but if I grab this one on top, you can see probably some of the reflection and the light, how it goes. So that's why I'm doing illustration color. I'm not doing opaque colors because the transparency is very important. Once I get the basic shades, I will apply candy on top and maybe highlights over. But basically, this is the start. I will repeat the exact same method on the other side, okay? So I will come over here, and I will grab my stencil and some freehand. Sorry for the light. There you go. Very translucent. And when I need to concentrate in some areas, I use the stencil, you know. This can be a random piece of paper if you like. You can do also full freehand, you know. And of course, I can increase the opacity of my paint just by adding more pigment, you know, or less reducer, you know. But of course, if I concentrate in one area, it starts giving the... I will do something here. Sorry about that. I will grab a piece of paper, fold it in half, just to give some body, and I will put it on the end right here, even right there. So I can spray from outside of the board to inside without worry about getting too much in the table, or, you know, it helps me to concentrate the edges even better. If it's too wet, spray a little bit of air and then go back and spray more, okay? I'm taking the strokes the same direction as the ground metal here, because that's the idea. I don't need to worry about if I'm crossing this part of the fins, because remember, all this has been masked, so it's absolutely no problem. So I will take my stencil, concentrate in this area. For example, I'm spraying, let's say, from the bottom up. Now I will turn over and spray it again, so it will concentrate more paint in that section. Okay, so you can see the dark stroke right there will blend perfectly with all the ground metal effects that I have there. And I will repeat the same step here and there. Maybe I can do some this direction, then I turn it back. And I don't need to follow the whole exact shape. The random way is the best way all the time, you know. I'm not trying to be realistic paint, I'm just trying to give the right effect. Okay, so remember, I'm working, creating, shading. Okay guys, well, I start spraying a little bit of the violet. Now I spray blue violet on top just to give a little bit of different tones and blending, so the darker areas are pretty much complete. I will keep going with the Tealicious, which is a candy color, you know, Candy 2O. But I like to show you also a little kind of a trick that I'm doing with my stencils. These are from art tool, you know, this is one of my series 2 of texture effects, and this calls liquid trail. And the nice about this is that it allows me to do a cool effect. So these are about lines, and what I do is not without touching the surface, just very close. I will spray but move at the same time. So I will do something like this. And it gives me some kind of a water effect marks, you know, that are very interesting. Of course, I've been doing like dagger stroke effects, you know, but this gives me a very, very cool effect, you know, especially when I move it. So it gives a motion effect that helps with this, actually with this water reflection. So it's very nice, very interesting. So I can keep going on that one. So that's how I did some of the effects right there. So what I will do next is just add a candy color. And for that one, I will use another white airbrush. I've been working with my Micron C. This is a custom CH, you know. And what I will do is I will prep my candy. Usually with candy, we can use the, here it is, the UVLS clear, which is the 4050 gloss clear. This is very important because we need it as a binder, you know. It's a binder that we need to use when we do candy colors. I'm ready to use the Delicious color, which is 4666, and I will mix with either 4050 gloss, or I can use additives like a transparent base. Transparent base is a binder also, probably is not as strong as 4050, but I like it because this is very liquid. So it's pretty much ready to go when I combine with a candy tool if I'm using an airbrush. Because keep in mind that it's not the same to use a spray gun than airbrush. Airbrush needs to be a little bit more liquid, the consistency of the paint, so this is perfect for it. So what I will do is I will take my transparent base 40 of 40, you know. As you can see, it's very liquid, very transparent, and it's a good base for my candy. So the candy is a concentrate dye, you know, and I just need a few drops. Maybe that's good enough for what I'm doing. I will bubble up to mix it. Let's see. For some reason, oops, sorry. Oh, my needle wasn't, okay. There you go. And I will test here first on the side. Okay, and all I'm gonna do is I will blend some color, okay? I may need a little bit of reducer. It's a little too thick, I think so. Okay, I will mix with a brush, just to be sure that everything will flows the way it should. I test on my towel paper, and I'm just start colorizing a little bit on the color. I will try to not to go too far on the center because this is where the reflection, the main reflection is going. Okay, I'm doing this very light. And eventually I will increase the opacity or the intensity of the color. Okay, like I will add a little bit more of the candy. Mix it up again. And keep going. I will try to do some of the texture lines. Oops, sorry. Concentrate in some of them. But as you can see, the color is still very transparent, very translucent. I don't want to go really heavy with, and always keeping that motion. Now I'm getting darker on the sides. And just getting ready to make the transition with different colors on the bottom. So I will use the same trick with the texture effects stencils. It really gives a punch right here. This is going to show very cool. Yep, the blending will be nice. And eventually we're going to add some highlights also. The blending on the color is very important, so I think that makes the difference. Okay, I think we have a good transition with the tealicious color, and I will prepare for my next color. Okay guys, as you can see, I've been playing around with color. Of course, all are being candy tool. And what I did is I apply after the blue violet and the tealicious, you know, I start blending into a little more reddish tones, more warm colors. I apply a little bit of a sunset magenta, you know, candy tool, of course, just to darken up in some of the areas, you know. I blended with a little tiny bit of purple and some others, and now I'm spraying some cloudy effects with the dirt track brown. You know, what I'm doing is just making more warming up this, but also I'm leaving some blank space. So with no color, is more the mist of overspray what is color in it. Because what I like to keep, like if you see this area that is very light and these more yellowish tones, you know, in the light area, as you can see, is not much color in that area. But what I will do now is I will blend a little bit of tequila yellow, just a very light mist to unify the warm tones. And then I'm going to start working on the more blues on this area, just to make the nighttime scene. So once I have that, we're going to seal the candy colors with the 40/40 bleed checker, just to protect for bleeding, you know, for upcoming colors, because later we're going to work with white for highlights. The white needs to be only minimum, but will be very interesting because it will pops out a lot of the fantasy effects, you know, from water reflection to stars and little details like that. So we are, in other words, we're making a little dark to bring some bright effects, okay? But taking care of the reflection. So that's what we're doing. And of course, later we're gonna bring detail into the mermaid. So I have the dark brown, and I'm just adding some cloudy effects, more like a texture effects, but are kind of soft. What I've been using is the this part of the mini texture effects from the first series. And what I'll do is I just place it here, but I don't place it flat. I just place in an angle, and then without touching the surface, just mainly almost touching. And what I do is just barely spray. That just create the shade, but it's not strong, it's just very subtle. And I will go and do the exact same thing, but the other way, you know, so that way I concentrate some of the shading in a little bit of the area, just like there. And I will repeat it somewhere here, you know. What we're doing is we're creating kind of a shielded area, you know, some kind of concentrated color, but in a soft way. So we have that. I will do one more on this area right here. And I'm happy with it. But what I will do now is I will grab a little bit of a tequila yellow, make a new mix, and spray lightly. Use, okay, and I'm emptying my airbrush. Okay, a little bit of reducer, just to clean up. I always bubble up, have some paint out, and now I'm ready for my tequila yellow. This is transparent base, 4004, just to give some binder to the color. Now I get the Candy 2O Tequila Yellow 4652, and just a couple drops, that's it. 1, 2, maybe 3 drops. I know it's almost nothing, but it's just to colorize a little bit of the effect, okay? Because tequila yellow is very intense. I will add a little bit of reducer. So it's a cocktail that I'm doing just right here in the cup, okay? So we need a binder, we need the candy, and just a touch of reducer. So now I will spray it far away just to have a very, very light mist. Maybe it's hard to see for the camera, but this touch of yellow unify a lot of the colors right here, especially in the warm tones, you know. I don't like to go too crazy on the light source, which is here, just a very light mist, and that's it. By working far away, the mist goes pretty much everywhere and blended with the rest. Okay, so I add some touches here. And remember, when this is clear coated, everything, all the colors comes alive. So I think will be great. So, okay, so I'm ready to this point. I will move into the next. Okay, guys, now I'm covering a little bit of the bottom part of this illustration. And it's basically some blues that I will fade from dark to light. Basically will be just a blending color. What I'm using is another Candy 2O. It's called Midnight Blue and Caribbean Blue. So are two blue colors that I'm blending. And I will add a little bit of black, transparent black, or you know, illustration black, but very, very translucent, just to hit the edges and have a better blending. So what I'm using is just this gun, you know, which is it's like a small touch-up gun, but I love the way how it blends. So as you can see, you know, I have a fan like probably about 3 inches or so, which is great for this purpose. So the reason why I have this piece of paper here is just to save some. I have some dust in the table, but I know how ugly it's gonna look when I end, so I prefer to cover a little bit. So, but as you can see, there's nothing special about it. It's just the blending. But it's beautiful because the ground metal effect behind it will make it, you know, bring it alive. And all the highlights that I will do for the clouds and effects will take an awesome look. So I think this gives you guys an idea of what I'm doing, okay? Okay, guys, well, as you can see, we have all the background color done. This has been pretty much all candies with a minimum of illustration paint. Remember, the illustration paint was more, still very translucent, but it's like a base for shading. So remember, on the top area was first like a dark blue just to make it shade. Then we came with a candy tealishes on top, and the same way I start blending on the clouds and all this blue area. At the end, I think it came out pretty good. It's nice. All we need now is to do some highlights. But before that, we're gonna do seal the artwork. We're gonna use the 4040 bleed checker, you know, just to set it down and avoid some bleeding. So then after that, I will use white for the main highlights and bring this alive. Once we do that, I will remove the mask to work with the actual mermaid design. I will lift a little bit some of the area, in this case the tail, so you guys can see why it was so important to cover this at the beginning. As you can see here, for example, this is the tail of the mermaid, you know, and it has been covered with this mask. So we still preserve all the reflection effect that will be candid also, but now just to give the detail and the effects of every particular section. So we're talking about the tail of the mermaid, which is basically this. So as you can see, we are working background first. Now we're gonna go with the foreground with the main image. So I think we're getting in there, and it'll be very interesting. I'm very excited. Once we have some protection here, we're gonna have we're gonna be able to see some color. And when we have all the highlights, this is gonna be awesome. So I'm sure you guys gonna love it. So I hope to keep going and you see what's next. Okay, thank you guys.